Okay, hi everyone. Welcome back to my channel, A Bookish Heart with Shauna. This is my second video and I'm sorry about the background and lighting again as before. And there's a bird chirping outside my window, so sorry about any background noise. Yeah, and I'm going to be doing a book review today. It will be spoiler free. It's about this book, A Bird in the House by Margaret Laurence. So again, this book review will be spoiler free, so if you haven't read the book, feel free to watch this video. As usual, these are my opinions, and sorry if I offend anyone, it's just my thoughts on the book. I just finished this book today, and it was actually a book club choice. I'm in a book club at my local library in my town, and we meet once a month. We take turns picking different books, and then we discuss them and have snacks. It's a really good time. I like the book club because it introduces me to different books and different genres that I never would have picked up on my own, but oftentimes I find I really enjoy them. So it exposes me to different things, and it's a chance to talk to others who enjoy reading, and it's a really good time. So once a month you'll be getting these book club book reviews from me, which is what this is, about the book club pick of the month, which for me was Margaret Laurence, A Bird in the House. So this, I actually thought that I had never read anything by Margaret Laurence before until I opened the book and was reading the about the author thing, and it told me some of the books she has written. And I actually read her book, A Stone Angel, years and years ago when I was in elementary school or maybe middle school, I think. And I remember at the time enjoying it as much as you can enjoy literature like that as a child that you're forced to read, but I did enjoy it. I can't tell you much about what it was about. But so this is actually the second book of hers that I've read. This book was published in 1963 and was set in the 30s, in the Great Depression era. It is a collection of short stories that reads like a novel. It's actually a novella, I suppose, since it's under 200 pages. I really liked this format. It's 8 stories, but they blend together, so they're not completely separate stories. They're all revolving around the fictional town of Manawaka, Manitoba, and a narrator who is a 14-year-old girl and progresses in age throughout the book, named Vanessa McLeod. So each of the 8 stories is a separate story in the sense that it's about a different topic or a different event that happened in her life or in her town. But you read it, it doesn't read like a short story. You finish one story and you turn the page knowing that you're getting the same set of characters and the same narrator in the next story. So it reads more like a novel. But I found it was a very interesting format that I've never really read before, so I liked that. This book was short, so it didn't take long to read. However, it took me longer than it should have for a 190-page book because I wasn't completely in love with it. It wasn't a page turner. I did like it, however. When I was searching on Goodreads for reviews of this book, after I finished it, it got rated 3.75 stars, which is about what I would give it. I think that's accurate. Many people liked it and gave it 4 stars or 3 stars. It didn't have any really low ratings. Margaret Laurence is a Canadian author who wrote a lot of good things. So I enjoyed that the book was set in Canada, as I'm Canadian, and I recognized some of the places, like Winnipeg, where it was mentioned, and I've lived there as a child. Some Canadian words, like Chesterfield instead of couch. I just liked that it was about Canada. I like that. Manawaka is a fictional town that she created, and I didn't know that this is the 4th book in the Manawaka series. Meaning, basically, she wrote 3 other books before this one that were set in this fictional town of Manawaka. And they all have female narrators, and they're all, like, family-based. So this is the fourth and final book about Manawaka, Manitoba. I'd be very interested to read some of the other ones in this series or some other books that she's written, as I did enjoy this book. I also liked that it was well written. It used dialect, which is when a character speaks in a way that is not necessarily grammatically correct. Like some of the characters say, I seen that, I done that, I ain't got none, stuff like that. That's for character development to show how those characters would speak. And so each character had different dialects, which I liked. The book is basically about family dynamics, the child growing up, how adults relate to each other, how children relate to their cousins, their grandparents, their parents, how grown siblings relate to each other, and just family dynamics. Vanessa's dad is a local doctor, and she lives with her grandparents, so both sets of grandparents are mentioned in the book. And it's very interesting, and it has a realistic narrator. I find that Vanessa as the narrator sounded realistic to how a child would sound. Like some books you get and they're supposed to be written by a child, but the ideas and the diction of the child is way too advanced. This book sounds like Margaret Laurence really understands how children think, and that was definitely portrayed. The main character, Vanessa, just does things that sometimes that are selfish or come across as uncaring, but that's how children are. Sometimes they don't mean to be cruel, but children are self-centered, and everything is from their perspective and how it relates to them, and that's how this book was written, so I liked that. It wasn't overly political, but it did have some themes from the time period, like about how natives were looked down on, or women's rights in the 30s. Wasn't a main theme in the book, but it was touched upon. And the only thing that I found a little confusing, it wasn't a major drawback, just a minor thing about the book, was that the time jumps. Like one story, she would be 12 years old, and certain characters had died, and then the next story, you turn the page, and she's 5 years old, and those characters are talking to her, and you're like, what? Didn't that guy just die? And you're so confused at first, but it's quickly cleared up, like it's not a major thing. But it just took me a minute to realize that the stories kind of jump back and forth. For the most part, she progresses in age, like starting at age 13, I think, until her mid-40s when she's grown up. But there's a few stories in between where she's talking about an event from an earlier age, so it kind of throws off the timeline. Other than that, I really liked this book. I would recommend it to people. And yeah, I find it was well written. And if you guys want to follow me on Goodreads, I am on Goodreads, and my handle on there is Bolshoi Booze. That's BOLSHOI BOOZE. No, it has nothing to do with drinking. It's actually a reference from a line from Prison Break, the TV show, because I'm kind of nerdy that way, and I was a huge Prison Break fan back in the day when it was on. There's one scene in Prison Break, which any Prison Break fans I'm sure will remember, where they get a note about some coordinates in the desert that they're supposed to find, and the note says Bolshoi Booze, and they don't know what it means. And then they realize if you turn it upside down, it's numbers, like the B is a 8, the O is a 0, the L is a 1, and it's actually coordinates, and it becomes a major part of the storyline. So I'm kind of a geek that way, so that's my Goodreads handle. And so yeah, so I'd love to have new friends on Goodreads if you guys want to follow me. After my book club meeting, which is the first Thursday in June, I will be coming back and posting another segment, part 2 of A Bird in the House review, where I will say what my fellow book club members thought about this book, what the general consensus was, any themes or questions we talked about, and that one will have spoilers. So part 2 of this review will have spoilers. So if you want to read the book, read it now or don't watch part 2 of this video. And yes, thank you for tuning in to my channel, A Bookish Heart. I'm looking forward to making more videos for you soon. And again, this was about A Bird in the House by Margaret Laurence. Not that thick of a book, and something I would recommend for people to read. Thanks, bye.